brothers. Welcome back. We took a little bit of a hiatus because of some exciting news. Galen is a new father, so congrats, man. That's really exciting.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm so tired.
Yeah, I bet. Can only imagine. And yeah, we thought on this episode it would just be interesting to talk about the experience of new parent life.
Sure. Yeah,
So yeah, that sounds good to you.
sounds good
Would
to
you
me.
mind just kind of walking me through? So I don't have any children
Sure.
myself. So what was the whole experience like? I mean, obviously the day of the birth, I'm sure was very like exciting
Yeah.
and scary and nerve wracking, all that. So I guess walk me through
So do I start with the
maybe.
birds and the bees, or I'm just kidding?
Yeah, how does it all work? How do
Well, when
where do babies
daddy
come
love
from?
each other. Yeah, I think it was interesting. We thought like the baby was very active, like for a while. So I thought, yeah, and I was premature, and then our first was also like premature. So I thought like, okay, this one's for sure gonna come in January, and secretly I was hoping that, like it would be cool just, as from an Asian perspective that having a dragon baby is like, the top tier. Didn't quite eke it in this time. So this baby's a snake. But like we had what's called like a membrane sweep. And essentially it's just an archaic way of just like you remove the amniotic sac from the wall, and it's just done by the OB putting on a glove, and you can figure out the rest.
Hmm.
Um, and it's supposed to induce labor, right? And so on
Hmm.
Monday we had like on the February 3rd, we went in to the OB and we did the checkup. Things hadn't progressed. We had actually scheduled a planned C-section for February 11th, so the following Tuesday, because we were pretty much at the 40-week mark, and it's it's okay to have like a baby come early. It's not so great to have it come later. Just a lot of complications happen at that point.
Yeah.
So we had the membrane sweep, and then on Tuesday, so the 4th, we started having what seemed like mild contractions, right? And they seemed just kind of be we like in terms of pain level, it was like a 3, right? And
Hmm.
then up until that point, for the last like 4 or 5 days, my wife had been sleeping on the couch because it just was unbearable to exist. I'm so glad I'm not a
Mm.
woman, but it's
Yeah.
what they go through is
That,
something else.
yeah. Yeah. Seriously.
But yeah, so she was sleeping on the couch, and like we had chit chatted about the future, like kind of plans, because the 5th, which was the due date, was like right around the corner, and we stopped talking about like 1 in the morning. So I went to the room, I showered, and then like around 2 a.m. I like crawled into bed, and I was like, I'm so tired. And then at 2:05, I see her come into the room, and she's like, the contractions are like at a 5 now, so I'm gonna like hang out with you for a little bit. It's like, that means it's happening.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get up. So like,
Yep.
um, I started like packing all the bags, putting it all in the car, just kind of prepping myself. And then I checked in on her, and she's like doubled over on the bed, and she's like, "Is it happening?" It's like, "It looks like it's happening." It's like, I don't want to wait another hour. It's like, "Are you sure?" Like, that's looks like it's happening.
Yeah.
And like another 45 minutes pass, and it gets up to a 6, and we're like, "Okay, it's time." So we
Hmm.
drive over to the hospital, and then by then she was like uh really feeling it, and there was like an alternative song on on like Spotify, and
Hmm.
the song passed, and she's like, no, 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 don't go back, play it again, play it again, because whatever the vibration of the song is like,
Is helping.
helping a little bit. It's like, all right, so I listened to the same song for like 4 times on repeat on the way over to the hospital.
Hey, whatever helps.
Yeah, whatever helps.
Whatever.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not gonna complain. Whatever
Yeah.
you need. And then we go in, and we go up to labor and delivery, and it just seems like everything is kind of like clockwork from there. We get admitted. They do a bunch of tests. It took them forever to like get her an epidural. By then she was like saying that she was like in an 8 or 9, and she's like shivering like that because of the
Oh,
pain.
man.
And she has a pretty high pain tolerance, so it's like to see her like that, it's like, wow, that must be
Yeah.
incredible. And then I finally gave it to her, and things started really progressing. She got up to like 5 centimeters, just on her own, and 10 centimeters is like the sweet spot. That's when you're going to start going into uh, delivery, I guess that's
Hmm.
what it's called. And yeah, so she got the epidural, and then within an every hour it's like 1 centimeter at a time, and then by around like noon they checked, and it was at like 9 centimeters, and baby was already at stage 2. So there's like 6 stages: -3, 2, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Um, Level 3 is being like the lowest it could possibly be before you're supposed to essentially be able to push. And then we kind of stagnated, and there was a couple decels, which are kind of scary given our history. Um, and
Hmm.
a couple of the decels, a bunch of nurses would like rush into the room, um, and it just seemed like whenever there was a contraction, there was a deceleration of the heart rate, which essentially means that the baby is in distress during those periods.
Mm.
Something about the contraction is not doing well with the baby. So we had already talked, saying that we had already planned to have a C-section on 211, and we're going to try essentially try the having a natural birth. But if things go sideways, then we're okay with uh, doing the C-section.
Yeah.
Uh, and then at which point uh, we decided to have them go in and open the amniotic sac themselves. And from there, I think there might have been just too much amniotic fluid. Like things started moving really rapidly after that. Like within like 45 minutes, baby was now in stage 3, and then there's like they were like 9.5 and change. Doctor's like, I think it's time. So then they rolled in all the stuff. I thought I couldn't look, and I told myself, it's like, it just could not. It's like seeing a human come out of that
Yeah.
small opening. That just seems, I don't know, I could do it. But
Yeah.
when I saw the crown of the head, I was like, wow, that's fascinating. Whoa, that's crazy. It's a whole,
Hmm.
whole like humans coming out of that. um,
Yeah.
we had the mirror, so I got to see in like HD, what was happening,
Mm.
and I helped with there was what they told us is that you're supposed to you have the struts, your legs are up, and then you're supposed to say like 10 seconds, 3 pushes, you go with the contraction. So when a contraction comes up, it's kind of like surfing. As the contraction goes up, you're supposed to start pushing at that point for 10 seconds, three reps, 10 seconds each contraction. So essentially, you're kind of riding the wave and letting the body. The contraction essentially is pushing down on the uterus at this point, because normally contractions push like this. That's it testing. It's called the Braxton Hicks. Um,
Mm.
and then when the baby's lower, it's still contracting, but now it's on top. I think of like a
Yeah.
balloon. It's pushing,
Right.
and it's starting to
Pushing
push
down. Yeah.
downwards,
Hmm.
right? So we're starting to ride the wave to push the baby downwards. And then like I started to see like this little white like ball essentially, which was like they told us was like the top of the head, and I saw hair, and then it kind of like go in and go out, go in and go out, and then eventually like we saw it, like, and it's like, okay, this is probably the final push, and this is only like 30 minutes in. They had warned us that it would take like 2 to 3 hours, but here we are at the 30 minutes, like, wow, this is really fast.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden out comes like the head, and then when the head comes out, like the rest of the body just like flops out like a fish, and I was like, um,
Oh man.
yeah, and then like without any intervention, it was a boy, and he started
Hmm.
crying like all on his own, and then
Hmm.
got plopped onto my wife's chest and pooped himself, which is also a good sign too. Everything's working.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and yeah, I mean, it was just like a far cry from what had happened the first time, and I think
Yeah.
it definitely
Yeah.
felt like a redemptive arc.
Oh, that's
And yeah, I mean,
so great to
tears
hear.
were had, and like
Yeah.
we were holding our breath, and we didn't have to hold our breath very long because we heard the cry, and I was like, wow, this is
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh, wow. Man, that's what a journey.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the
So,
harder trial was the after postpartum, like we were in the
mhm.
postpartum rooms.
Hmm.
and it's like you're just up all the time, and like the accommodations, like the bed and like the chair that I'd sit in, are like the most uncomfortable things possible. Maybe it's intentional. Like I don't know if it's just because it's old furniture or if it's just like it's supposed to be intentionally uncomfortable so that you don't fall asleep on the baby.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Maybe. All I know is that I still have back problems from having sat in that thing.
Oh jeez. Yeah, I remember like I don't know if you watch The Office, but
Yeah.
that episode where Pam and Jim
Oh
have
yeah.
their baby, and Jim is like in that like
That's
uncomfortable chair.
exactly
Is
that's the
that it?
same one. Yeah.
That's
Yeah. It doesn't quite
that's
fully
really funny.
recline, and then it's not built for like a human body. I don't think. We just swapped the
I don't know.
baby
That's a
like
pretty good theory that it just keeps you awake intentionally.
yeah,
So
maybe.
because you probably are so tired at that
Oh
point that
yeah, it's
just
like
like
especially because I hadn't slept. I literally had laid my head on the pillow for like 5 minutes, and then
hmm
it's game time. So it's like I
yeah,
hadn't slept for an entire day before that. So
and it's got to be just both the physical and mental
oh yeah,
exhaustion.
emotional, spiritual, everything.
Yeah,
And
everything.
the
Oh wow.
yeah. But
So you were there for how long before you were able to come home?
so let's see, Wednesday delivery, and then we got to go home on Saturday morning. So
Okay.
it's yeah, and I appreciated that we had to be able to learn how to burp the baby, change diapers, swaddle, thing, and latching for breastfeeding. Those are all like
hmm
important skills I want to make sure that you know. But I think we figured it out pretty early on. It's just like please just. And
Yeah.
also there was like 13 other uh new mothers there. So like every room was taken. So we were put like what essentially was looked like a broom closet of a room.
Oh jeez.
It was like at the end on
Wow.
on a corner. The room was like a triangle. Um, so yeah, it was yeah. And then when we were getting discharged, there was 7 or 8 others in front of us, and we were like the last ones out. So it's like, please just let us out.
Oh man. Yeah. After all that, it's like the last thing you want to do is
Yeah,
like be stuck there longer than you need to.
yeah.
I imagine it's like when you like land on a flight that's been like a long trip, and
Mhm.
then like the captain comes on and they're like, there's someone at our gate, so
I
we
know
need to
exactly.
wait,
That's exactly how it
you're like,
felt.
oh, come on.
2 hours later, it's like I landed
Yeah.
so long ago. I
There's
could see the outside through the window.
yeah, we're here, but we're not here.
Yeah, yeah.
So then what about when you did get home? What was the experience like in the first couple days?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the first shower felt amazing. Like I didn't want to like they had a shower in that postpartum room, but it looked
hmm
scary. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like. It was worse than like a Motel 6 shower for sure. So I'm like, I'll just sit in my own filth. That's fine.
Yeah.
Um,
What's one more day?
yeah, exactly. And then from there it was just like kind of figuring it out. Like we were terrified, like SIDS is a real thing, so like
hmm
an infant death.
hmm
Um, and so like we took turns, like just each of us staying up, and we did that for like 3 days, and that was completely unsustainable. Um,
Yeah.
and then at a point, like my wife's not pretty bad at like sleep, so like when she's tired, she's just tired. Like she can't override it. I'm the
hmm
opposite. I've been an insomniac for like most of my adult life, so I can easily override sleep. I can just go for as long as I need to.
hmm
So I was like, you know what? You sleep. I'll just sleep during the day, and then I'll just do the night shift. Even still, like that from the 4 a.m. to like the 10 a.m. window was just brutal.
Oh, yeah.
And
Those hours, like the hours between like 3 and like 5 a.m., just
yeah,
seem like hours that nobody should be awake
yeah,
during. Like it should be illegal to have
yeah.
to be awake.
There's like a funny meme. It's like it was like all the nights I went partying out and came back at 3 a.m., woke up at 5 a.m. to go to work at 7 a.m. Could never prepare me for the sleep deprivation of having a child.
Yeah. Well, plus you're a little bit older too than like when you're in your college years and you
Yeah,
can kind of just like rally. But the the older you get, I know it gets a little harder
Yeah, it
too.
does for sure.
Not saying that you're old, but
Yeah. Oh, thanks,
you know.
man. Hey, if I'm old, you're old.
But yeah, the difference between when I was like 18 versus now in my
Yeah,
30s,
for
it's like
sure,
big
for sure.
difference. Yeah.
I could just no, I could like do the what is it called, the no lifer or all nighter? Yeah, the all nighter
Oh yeah. Oh
all the
yeah, I
time.
did many of those. Has that been like was that the biggest struggle in the first couple days? Just
First couple
like
days, yeah,
sleep
definitely a sleep
deprivation?
thing,
Mm.
and he was just it was just hard to figure out, like over time you start to learn what each cry means, but at its first it all sounds the same. It's just like it's just an alarm clock that just won't stop.
Hmm.
Um, and for some reason, my wife has an uncanny superpower to just be able to sleep soundly, like snoring and all, through his crying. Uh, so I've been able to, I'm a pretty light sleeper, so it's like, okay, I gotta figure this one out, But
Yeah. Do you
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to ask, do you, I've heard this from a couple of my other friends who have had kids. In the early, like, first few months, sometimes it can feel like, as the guy in this, like, they don't feel like as useful as it could be, like, in terms of like feeding and things like
Yeah.
that. But it sounds like you were, pretty actively, um, you know, taking care of, like, whenever the baby was crying, you're like, okay, I'm gonna go
Yeah,
handle it.
I don't know. From the get go, I've always wanted children, and I think that's more than half the battle. I think a lot of fathers. I think there's like some stats about this where like the average age at which men want children is like 5 or 10 years after where women want children. So
Hmm.
usually women gets to have the children first because they're the ones who are going to have to carry it. So it's usually not till later that a man will kind of get with the program.
Yeah.
Not saying that they don't want to, and not saying that there aren't men that do want that, but I think it's just harder to feel that bond and feel that desire to do it. On
Hmm.
top of that, I think there's that other thing where women have to carry this child for 9 months. You kind of get to know this child long before you actually have to take care of it in like a physical sense.
Yeah.
Um, in which case, there's that bonding and oxytocin that's constantly being reinforced, as well as the oxytocin that's released when you're breastfeeding is also another stimulant that kind of creates more bonding between
Sure.
mother and child.
Yeah.
And I think for men, it's like when you first hold the child that you start to feel that bond, and so it's like you're so not only are you like age delayed, but you're also like oxytocin delayed uh,
Hmm.
to creating that bond. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, no, that's interesting to hear, and I think it's probably good to hear for anyone who's thinking about having kids or maybe has like a brand new baby as well.
yeah,
Because I think everybody's experience is going to be different, and I think for you, maybe as somebody who always wanted to have kids, maybe that bonding
mhm,
starts a little bit earlier.
yeah,
Because what I've heard from again a couple of my other friends is like for one of them it was like it wasn't until like almost a year in where it was like okay now I'm like really like that first year was kind of like a slog, like
yeah,
especially the first few months, like really brutal, total life change, right? Because you're going from maybe total freedom where like you can just
yeah,
walk out the house whenever you want to, go to dinner, go
yeah,
pick things up, whatever, to I need to have everything planned out, or I need to make sure that we take care of all these different things before we can leave the house.
yeah.
um,
I think,
so it's a total, shift in your lifestyle.
yeah,
And I think for some guys that initial shift might take a little bit longer.
agreed.
That on top of maybe not initially feeling that bond with their child um, until maybe a little bit later. So again, I think everybody's experience is probably different, but
Yeah,
just hearing, it sounds like you seem to be bonding with your son pretty quickly,
yeah. I
and
think,
maybe that is because this has always been something you've been ready for.
yeah, I think,
Yeah.
I think there's also the other added layer. It's like, for all those who don't know, it's like we lost our first, and like
Hmm.
he was born and essentially didn't have the lungs to survive. So it's like this is just almost like a delay into what
Yeah.
what we were already ready for.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And I think that
Makes
the
sense.
other thing is like I think I read where it was like for in the beginning, like the nurturing aspect is where like women excel at, right? And just stereotypically when you fall and you scratch your knee, you're not going to run to dad, you're going to run to mom, to
Hmm.
kind of nurture you, right? Or when the bullies happen, like you run to mom, it's like because they hurt your feelings, and then you run to dad to learn how to kick their ass, right? And I think that that's kind of where, like, I know that my role right now is just a supporting role, and I
Hmm.
think when you level set in that way, it's a lot easier to find the male duty that you can kind of latch onto. Like, I'm not going to be breastfeeding, so the whole and food is like even when you cook for your loved ones, that's a way of nurturing, right? And in general, that seems like feeding, breastfeeding and such is a way that a female is able to nurture their child. Um,
Hmm.
so I'm just going to be essentially playing um, an usher, essentially, to make sure that that happens as much as possible.
Yeah.
So that makes it pretty easy. It's like anything that my wife needs for like to support herself. That's what I need to do. That's my mission. And
Hmm.
I've been fortunate enough that my job has given me like a lot of time for paternity leave, so that I
Yeah.
can focus on that. Which I feel
Yeah, I think that's so important to have that time to like get into a new schedule because I mean it's a total lifestyle shift, right?
completely,
Like
yeah. And it's
even though you were expecting it and were excited about it, like
oh yeah,
was that still like very
oh
shocking
yeah.
just to have
I'm
that?
still figuring stuff out, to this
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
We had a diaper changes. That was a complete shift. Like,
Hmm.
and one thing I learned, I started to feel it. I have three cats that just decided to say like, "You're a pretty cool guy. We're gonna stay here." um, that true love is handling other people's crap. You know, cleaning
Literally and figuratively,
yeah,
right?
literally. And like cleaning up after the cat's poop, that's my job, And like
Hmm.
now, like with the baby, it's like, I have to deal with this crap too. And
Yeah.
one thing about boys, I guess, is that you're dealing with two like dual wielding pistols down there. Um, like if it's not coming out of one end, it's coming out of the other. And I've definitely been crapped on more than I care to admit. So I learned that
Yeah.
what you see in the diaper changing is either for girls or just you probably should learn a new tactic.
Hmm.
Where you lift up the legs and you do the wiping and stuff. Not no 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 no. That's the wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
Sidewinder is what I call it. So you flip the baby on its side, open the diaper on the side, do the wiping, and if things come out through either end, you're protected.
Yeah, you at least have a
Yeah,
shield there.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a leak or blowout since, so I think that's been working out. Knock on wood for sure. But
Nice.
you know, I think things will work for like 6 months, and then the whole game shifts, the puzzle shifts.
Yep. Yeah, that's something that I've heard from other friends. Is like it seems like with babies, especially as soon as you get used to one thing, then all of a sudden everything changes, and now you
Yeah,
got to learn something new. You know.
yeah, yeah. Our son's a really good eater. He'll eat like until he's like puking, but a terrible sleeper. So I think he gets that from me because I'm an insomniac.
Mm.
Yeah,
And it crying a lot usually when.
he'll be fussy, and it's like he's so tired that like he because he wants to go to sleep, but now he hasn't slept, and then like he's cranky. It's like, I get that,
Hmm.
man. I have the same thing. Sometimes it's like
Yeah.
you'll feed him, and then he's super full. You'll burp him. He's like passing out. You swaddle him, and you put him in the bassinet. And then I'll like lay my head on the pillow, and then I just look at him, and he's just okay, great, great. Why are you looking at me, kid? Go to sleep.
He's like, "Hey, you
Yeah.
look like me." So a lot of people talk about like the shift in mindset, like your priorities completely
Mhm.
have changed, which totally makes sense. Did you find the same thing? Like, was it like a switch? Like, okay, now my life is is this child is now like surrounds everything. This is everything, or
I think that
not
was
so
probably the
much.
easiest part. It's just like, this thing is so fragile. It's so precious. It's like
Hmm.
I can't imagine, how people. And I know there are people out there who just can't do that. It's like, um, and maybe again, I have a different perspective. I've seen the fragility of life. So it's like, and maybe that makes me extra on guard. It's like I remember the
Yeah.
first few nights, it's like I just couldn't. I have to check if he was breathing, like like every 30 minutes. It's like, and I wake up in a cold sweat. It's like, shit, I fell asleep for too long. It's like I gotta
Yeah.
check.
Yeah.
But one of the things that has allowed us to sleep, at least for 2 3 hours chunks, is something called the owlet. Um, Essentially, it's like a little foot monitor. It's like the equivalent of those like exercise bands that you can wear, like a
Hmm.
Fitbit or something, but for sleep. And essentially, it'll alert us if the oxygen levels go down too low, if the child's wiggling too much. Um, that's a game changer. That has allowed.
And so you wear it on your wrist, and it'll vibrate or
No, the
something.
baby will wear it on its foot, and then it'll kind of check, like, constantly be monitoring vitals, and alert our phones, as well as like a little docking station.
I see. I
Yeah.
see. Okay.
But,
I thought maybe you also had like something that
oh yeah.
you would wear too.
No, it's not calling like
Interesting.
the Justice League or anything like that.
Although that would be cool.
Yeah, maybe a future upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's the premium version.
Yeah.
You mentioned your cats before. Did the pets have any issues adjusting?
At first they were like, wide eyed. It's like, oh, what's this? What's this?
Yeah.
It makes a lot of noise. And then like the two cats that were strays, like the ones that were probably homed at one point in time and either lost their way or got abandoned. Um, they've been great. Like they really want to get up close to the baby, smell him, and like cuddle with
Hmm.
him. It's like, no, it's too soon. Way too soon. But
Hmm.
they'll get us close and test. Keep on testing the boundaries, getting closer and closer, which has been really sweet. And one of them, Sasha, he's our troublemaker, but um, he's the sweetest of the cats. Like you can pick him up, juggle him, he won't do anything to you.
Hmm.
But like he's been really protective of like even the baby bump, early on. He kind of knew almost instantly. I think they probably can smell it or something.
Yeah.
And when he first came home, he's been the most excited. Like he's been trying to crawl into the bassinet whenever we're not looking or anything like that. Um, and the feral cat, like he does not like the crying. Like he's like, what is this? Like I was trying to
Yeah.
sleep, and so he'll like keep on relocating throughout the house. Like I still hear it,
Yeah.
and then he'll just go. He'll just like, I can't do it. I gotta go outside, man. I gotta go outside.
Yeah. Get me out of here.
Yeah, but at least they've been very gentle around the baby, like, which has been really nice. And
That's great. Yeah.
I didn't expect. Mostly, for the most part, cats aren't really aggressive. They'll just run away from anything that they don't like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So what are you most looking forward to, in terms of like as your son grows up, like are there any like specific ages or like
Oh yeah.
moments that you're excited about? Things that you can share?
Um, I think, well, this child like has like super strong legs. He probably gets that from the two, like his parents, because both of us have really strong legs. Really small like thighs though, so it's like, dude, like you gotta bulk up your legs, man. You got little chicken legs. And then he also like punches and stuff. And it's like, I'm a black belt in Tang Sudo, and I think that'd be really cool to be able to pass that on.
Hmm.
It helped me. I fought off my share of bullies in my time.
Yeah.
I think I'm really into fashion. My fashion sense changes every like 6 months, so it'd be really cool to teach him how to dress, and show him what looks good, what doesn't, and then have
Hmm.
him create his own style over time. Because I dress pretty eccentrically, so riding a bike, I bike to the store like daily to get our groceries and cook.
Hmm.
So that'd be another fun adventure.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and then this entire time, actually, like, one of my goals was to get the board game to a solid prototype state, and I
Hmm.
was able to accomplish that before the baby came. And it's actually very fun. I'm actually very, very excited about that.
Awesome.
So just that was kind of like my passion project to kind of spend time with my first son. Like it was just kind of a way to commemorate. It's like this is what I would have wanted to share with you, and now it's like I get to share it with his younger brother, which is just kind of nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, so it's at you said the prototype is pretty much done.
I mean, it's 100% playable right now, and now I'm just figuring out how to add different DLC to it. So yeah, it's. I mean, I'm really excited about it. So like I'm gonna
That's so
start
cool.
soft launching it like within the next few weeks. So
That's so cool.
yeah,
Yeah, you have to like send me a picture of it.
oh yeah, sure, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, it's so simple, but I've every person who's play tested it so far is like I've never seen them so like excited about like a game. It's like it causes a lot of conversation and then a lot of experimentation, and then like I showed my dad and he's like, "Can you build me a prototype?" Because he lives in Thailand.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can build you another prototype, and you can take it back with you. It's like cool because I really want to show my friends, and like I saw him like turn into like a kid again, which is kind of my whole
That's
point.
a good sign.
Yeah, and every time I play it for at least an hour and a half. So it's like I probably have like at
That's
least 100 hours under my belt right now. But yeah,
man, that's so cool. That could really take off.
yeah. I think it. I got something here. Um,
Not to derail us, but I am kind of like curious about the next steps on like how do you launch something
sure.
like
Yeah.
a
So
game like that?
like or, my idea for it is that it'll be a completely open source game. So I've been kind of keeping it under wraps for a while because the true nightmare feel for me, the only losing scenario is that I release it, someone steals the idea, patents it, and then sticks it in a vault. That's how I
Hmm.
lose. Now if I start showing people it's like how to build it and everything, then it becomes unpatentable, and I can't even patent it at that point because it becomes common knowledge, which is the ideal. I'll probably pitch it as that. It's like, look, this is a game for everyone. Skyrim, for example, right? Why is Skyrim still played today? Is because the modding community continues to add on to it. So essentially, I'm trying to take that idea and add it to the board game, niche. Teach people how to build it themselves. Teach people how to play at least the base game, and then see
Hmm.
what people come up with. Like, look, this is an ecosystem. We're all going to play. We're going, just like tennis, for example. There's different types of courts you can play on. There's grass, there's composite, and then there's also clay. Um,
Hmm.
Same deal. It's like or like golf. Different types of terrain. I want to see what people come up with, and then the best ideas I will start to canonize them into the universe. But everything's canon. So
Yeah.
and then I essentially eventually become the DM of the universe, and to be like even if people like make knockoffs of what the cars and stuff, that's okay. That's part of the universe. There would be
Hmm.
knockoffs. That's totally part of it.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's truly a game for
people.
those who love it
Yeah,
and
exactly.
want to do what they will with it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. Yeah, no, I don't know if you ever played Warcraft 3 back in the day.
Oh, a
Um,
little bit. It was a little bit
it was
more time.
they had like a custom map builder, but
Mm.
it turned into, you could customize maps and game types so that people started building like tower defense games, and
Oh, cool.
people started building. This is where Defense of the Ancients originally came from, was a modded, Warcraft 3 map, and then that turned into a big game on its own. And League of Legends is
That's true. Yeah.
basically the same type of game, and like just having that sort of like open world, like being able to like let the players who enjoy it like figure out ways to alter the game,
Mm.
and then it transforms into something totally new but still familiar
Yeah.
to what it started as. So
Yeah. I think that's like
that's
the whole
cool.
thing is, I'm only one person. I don't, I don't want to make. I'm not here to make money. Like I think what would be more exciting for me is that I get to walk on the streets, and then kids are excited carrying like the cars around with them, or playing on the
Hmm.
sidewalk, or even adults
Yeah.
doing that, right? And creating a whole micro universe, that people are aware of if you do it. I think that'd
Yeah,
be,
for sure.
that's kind of my dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So um to kind of like circle back to new parenthood, and
Yeah. Sure.
um you mentioned earlier that nothing that anyone tells you can like prepare you for for the change. Do you think though you could articulate it better now that you've experienced it
Yeah,
than maybe how it was like described to you?
I think people like downplay how tired you're going to be.
Hmm.
And I think it's all about perspective, right? Like, um, my perspective is that life is fragile and time is finite, and you got to just understand that what you experience right now is temporary. You will be beyond tired. It's going to test every aspect of you, and even if you're prepared, and even if you want it, you're going to break down. You're going to cry. You're going to like think that you've had enough. But what are you going to do? You're someone who's relying on you like 24/7, and
Hmm.
they're only going to need you this much for a short period of time. You got to enjoy that. Like there will be a point where the child's probably going to hate me and be like, you don't understand me. Slam his door and listen to music,
Yeah.
flips the hair. um, and even that, I'll tell him, you know what? Enjoy the hair while you have it.
You're gonna look like your dad
Yeah,
someday. Just
exactly.
wait.
Uh,
Yeah.
I think that that's probably it. Like, there's good ups and downs with each part of it, and it moves so fast. Like, I blinked and it's already been almost a month now.
Yeah.
And all I'll ever remember is maybe that I was tired, but you know, um, knowing that you're helping raise the next generation is it's a pretty fulfilling thing,
Hmm.
if you allow it to be, but it's all perception.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned like the whole like you're gonna have a breakdown, like
Yeah,
you're gonna
I've had
cry at some
multiple now.
point.
I'm on the verge of one right now. Kidding?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's probably like you're just standard operating at this point. Like,
Yeah.
but like it's so important to remember like that it's okay to do that.
Hmm.
Like,
For sure. You
it's
will.
we've talked about the process of crying before, but it's like super cleansing, and it's
Mhm.
like it's the body's way of like releasing and um especially for guys, we tend to like try to bottle that up,
Yeah.
but like remembering that like no, this is actually important and this actually will help
Yeah.
to release this. So
Yeah. I think
yeah.
it will test you, and
Hmm.
I think I'm a pretty resilient person. But this has been probably the hardest thing I've had to do.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that you just have to lean into it and know that by the end of it, if you're going through the crucible, and if you get through it, then you're going to become stronger and forged, in iron
Hmm.
by the end of it. But
Yeah.
you have to test your wits, test your might in order to even know what you're capable of. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, love that. Well, I don't unless you had anything else
No,
to
that's
share about the
pretty
experience.
much my
That seems like
experience
a
right
pretty
now.
good spot to.
It's what do I call it? It's eat, sleep, diaper, repeat. So yeah,
Just one diaper at a time, right?
pretty much.
One
I'm a
one
pro
diaper
now.
at a
Like I kind of find some zen and just doing the same repetitive motion over and over again. Yeah.
time.
So
Yeah. Like and when you're sleep deprived, you probably that's important, right? You need to be able to do that
with my eyes
totally
closed,
subconsciously. Yeah.
low light.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of diapers. I didn't. Yeah, there's that SpongeBob episode where I think they're taking care of that clam, and then there's like diapers everywhere in the
Oh,
walls and stuff.
yeah.
They're not kidding.
Oh
That's
man.
exactly what it was. It's like
Hmm.
144 diapers sounds about right. That'll take us through 28 days. Nope, I'll take you through about like a quarter of that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah,
Well, really appreciate you sharing the experience. I
yeah. Nice
think,
catching up for sure.
yeah, yeah, it's super fun catching up. It's been a little while.
Yeah,
Obviously, you've been super busy, and um, but it'd be fun to get back into this.
yeah,
So,
agreed. Like let's
um,
try to make it happen again. So
sounds good
we'll be in touch.
for sure.
All right,
All
thanks,
right.
Blake.
Well, thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, see you in the next one, guys.